Okay, it is now 7:32. I would like to call to order the December 13th, 2022 meeting of the Norwalk Common Council. If you please rise and join me in pledging allegiance to our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. If you remain standing for a moment, please. As you know, tomorrow would mark the 10th anniversary of the Sandy Hook murders, where we lost 20 students and 6 teachers. Join me in a moment of silence. Tomorrow, we are having a special ceremony at City Hall at 9:30, where the names of the deceased will be read and will pay proper tribute. So if you please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Clerk, if you please call the roll.
Mr. Burnett,
Present.
Mr. Goldstein. Here. Ms. Johnson. Present. Ms. Najolski Eichner.
Present.
Ms. Smith.
Here.
Ms. Ayers. Mr. Ubelman.
Present.
Ms. Revelous.
Here.
Ms. Young.
Here.
Mr. Kites.
Here.
Ms. McMurray.
Present.
Ms. Alterman.
Here.
Mr. Meek.
Here.
Mr. Livingston.
Here.
Ms. Shanahan.
Here.
She's here. Okay.
Ms. Ayers. 14, we have a quorum.
We have a quorum, 14. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, acceptance of the minutes of the regular meeting of November 22nd, 2022. Do I have a motion? Mr. Hooverman,
Motion.
any corrections, deletions, omissions? Seeing none, all in favor of the minutes as submitted?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ms. Johnson and Mr. Goldstein abstain. Next item on the agenda is public participation. Do we have anybody here that has signed up to speak? Mr. Bonifant?
Thank you. Good evening, Rich Bonifant, 17 Park Hill Avenue. I'd like to speak on item 7A1 about the accessory apartments opting out. I urge you to opt out of the state's accessory dwelling unit provisions, mainly because you're giving up home rule and the privilege that goes with it, with the idea that the states have a cookie cutter formula that works for all towns and cities, but that's really not the case. To those who think that the least restrictive provisions is the best way to go, well, remember that the state's rules don't require that anything be affordable, and landlords are just going to raise the rents as much as they want. If you think that trash in the town with pool sheds in people's front yards will bring the rental prices down, well, that didn't happen in like the last 10,000 apartments. If you don't have some local rules, you're just setting yourself up in the residents for fights amongst themselves for looking for parking places in front of their own homes. I agree with Mr. Kites, who made a comment in one of those online blogs that without the requirements of an owner living on the site, it's just another income producer for an absentee landlord. It's being sold as an in-law opportunity, but it's really just another way to get the most income out of your property. And I said it before, so I think the failure of the master plan was, it was never a population goal. And so nobody actually figured out how many people do you want living in Norwalk? But that's all well said and good, but please don't tell me I can't water my lawn or wash the salt off my car in my own driveway. So thank you very much for the time, and I urge you to vote to opt out of the state's requirements. And I just want to point out that if you need 10 votes, which is 2/3 of your majority, you need 2/3 majority, 10 votes, that anybody who abstains or didn't show up is a no vote. So all that aside, thank you very much for your time, and Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, or whatever else you got going. So good luck, all.
Thank you, Mr. Bonifant. Ms. Holly Martosi, is that correct?
Good evening, everybody. I'm proud to be a Wolf Pit Integrated Arts School parent. Now my daughter is in 5th grade, and I live at 26 Hills Lane. Our school over the years has developed and continues to develop amazing opportunities for our K-5 students with regards to arts integration. As we understand it right now, Wolf Pit is slated for the next tier of capital improvements, which could possibly push us out beyond the year 2030 to make any improvements to our building. Our school community is eager to help the Board of Education and the Norwalk Community Council to accelerate this building and facilities improvement process. We're excited, and we very much want to be a part of any of these changes and any parts of the process moving forward. Over the past few years, Wolf Pit has made great progress in academics based on data trends on
Ms.
average.
Martosi,
Yes,
it's a violation of freedom of information if we are discussing something that's not on the agenda for a vote.
oh, I am sorry.
I'm sorry, and we do have to ask you not to speak. That's how we ask, we treat everybody else like that.
Okay,
But thank you for your diligence. Thank you for your interest, and thank you for your public participation with our government.
well, thank you. I understand. I was coming here as representing from the SGC on Wolf Pit tonight.
And we
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much. Sorry.
Thank you. Is there anybody online that wishes to address the council?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. For the record, my name is Diane Lauricella at 21 Little Fox Lane. I first wanted to thank you, Mayor, for holding the event tomorrow. I cannot be there, but as I think you know, I went to high school in Newtown, and it's still, of course, a very, very solemn and sad event, of course. So I thank you for holding that tomorrow. Tonight, I'm speaking on 2 items on the agenda. The first one is item 7A1 about the accessory dwelling unit provision of Public Act 21-29. If I had my druthers, I would ask that we do not opt out, because I do feel that the newly minted or newly amended planning and zoning regulations went too far. If this group has decided, though, this robust group, to opt out, there are some good reasons to do so. However, I consider this then an opportunity, and I ask for a pledge. I'd love a roll call vote, but I also know that I would like to hear the council support those of us in the community that desperately are trying to find affordable housing, that you will help us. Several of us will be creating amendments that we could put forth to the Planning and Zoning Commission. It's very unusual that citizens know that they can change land use regs, but we can. So can you. So let's work together, because we need to tweak these regulations. They went too far. This particular item on the agenda and ADUs in general is a property rights issue. But the kind of property rights that, of course, allows people to be able to realize the best and highest use of their property with reasonable guardrails. And what I heard in all the years since last spring about all the fear factor and some myths that were told about what would happen if we don't opt out are just that. They are myths. There is currently, with our current regs, no front yard detached or attached in the front yard, which is a ridiculous notion because it should be site by site. It should just not be across the board revoking. Wheeled small homes that are built called tiny homes are not going to throw their sewage down a storm drain, as was said by a commissioner that's usually pretty good last week at the Planning and Zoning Regulation public hearing. Please do not believe the fear mongering that's going on here. So we need to come together and tweak this with reasonable guardrails, but it must be tweaked after tonight's vote if you decide to opt out. Lastly and briefly, the second thing I wanted to ask is praise and praying. I understand, and I think it's reasonable to continue the wind waste contract by 1 year. But we, as you know, the predicament we're in is that previous, I'm looking very forward to and appreciate Vanessa speaking about including the public in discussions about where we go with our future contract. I would also like this council and this mayor to acknowledge the good work that I and other citizens have done to try to help the city understand how we can optimize our waste management as well as our recycling. So I look forward to those discussions, but I do want to say that the devil is in the details here. And I hope that Wind Waste is not proposing a, I forget the term, but the money that we could gather from more than just mixed waste, because the market, and many of you know, I'm in the waste management business.
You're at 3 minutes and 30 seconds, Ms. Lavricella.
I'll wrap up. Thank you. Cardboard and glass bottles are a hot commodity now. I hope we're not limiting ourselves just to mixed waste. The council is filled with lay people who care. Please make sure we're doing our due diligence and that we discuss things openly, like unit-based pricing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Have a nice holiday, everyone.
Is there anybody else wishing to address the
There's
council?
one more, Ms. Kazarin.
Yes, hi, everyone. Audrey Kozarin from 19 Kendall Court. And my pal Diane Loricella has said a lot of what I feel. My husband and I are very attracted to ADUs, accessory dwelling units, and that's what I wanted to speak about tonight. And I love hearing what other cities are doing. It probably makes sense to look at some other cities around the United States that have allowed ADUs and see how they made out. We realize there's many concerns about affordability, about how homeowners might take advantage of this opportunity, parking situations. But I would hope that the fears and concerns could be assuaged through crafting some rules and regulations that are just common sense. If it's in a front yard, as Diane said, site by site, I think other cities have taken this up, and there are probably some models out there that we could follow. So if you decide to opt out, I think it could really, maybe there's a public forum like we've been doing for transportation. Maybe the public can weigh in on that and really craft it. I'd hate to see years and years go by on this. I think it's terrific for us. We'd love to be able to have a family member or a close friend who's going through a hard time, be able to stay, have an affordable place to live close by where we can support them. I think that's the whole point. People have aging parents. Why put them in assisted living when they could live next door? I think the fears about people taking advantage when this could be of great benefit, we have to put those fears aside and see, let's move forward on this. I think it would be of great benefit for a lot of people here in Norwalk. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Corazon. Kozarin. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the council?
Of course, always gets it wrong.
Diane Kay.
The council.
That's you.
Okay. Hi, council members and Mayor Rilling. I wanted to just encourage us opting in instead of opting out. I think that the state has done a lot of work on ADUs and it would help our affordable housing stock and make things less complicated for people who are considering ADUs to move forward more rapidly. Going our own way is more complicated, and it will just reinforce the state's efforts on affordable housing, which a lot of the surrounding communities have not moved forward. And given that Norwalk has done a great job with it, I think going along with the state's plan would be the right thing to do. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Could you give your name, please?
Diane Keefe, 249 Chestnut Hill
Oh,
Road.
Diane Keep. Okay, thank you.
And there's one more Diane. Can you state your last name for the record as well?
There's another Diane?
Good evening,
Diane
everyone.
Keefe, Keefe.
No, there's another Diane trying to speak right now.
We should be muted. Here, I'll do this.
Okay, am I unmuted?
No, you're good.
Oh, there we go. Thank
Could you
you.
state your name, please?
This Diane is, well, we almost had all the Dianes lined up. It was just bizarre. And then, no, we didn't have a meeting or a memo beforehand. But as Ms. Lorella is famous for saying, we just can't have too many Dianes in Norwalk. So I agree. This particular one is Diane Cece, C-E-C-E. Olmsted Place in Norwalk. I just want to speak quickly to the two items. I do want to speak to the ADU opt-in, opt-out option. And I just want to hopefully clarify this in my own mind, but perhaps in yours as I followed this through planning and zoning. I believe that, you just have one bite at the apple now before January to decide to opt out. And if that passes, then I think we're kind of stuck with whatever the regulations are that are in there, parts of which people love and parts of which people really don't care for. However, if you opt out, if I understand from Mr. Kleppen correctly, and Mr. Baker, if you opt out, what ultimately ends up becoming the regulations can be all or part of what the original state version would have been. So I'm not quite sure where we are in the process of the actual zoning regulations versus now the choice before you tonight to opt out. I'm a little confused on if there's a disconnect there or not. But I would say that, at this point, in my mind, it's okay to opt out and then continue to work on the zoning regulations that would best fit Norwalk. Having said that, I just want to be completely upfront. I am a longtime proponent of ADUs, and I would say as, within reason, as least restrictive as possible. And the more burden we're putting on with setbacks and what paper structure and all of those things, I think it's going to become, more burdensome to do it. And I hope that's not the intent of how these things are being written, either subconsciously or intentionally. I think it would be a good thing. I do share the concern of one of the other speakers, though, that I would hope that no one is under the misunderstanding that this could, be something that is going to be guaranteed to increase affordable housing stock. And I think that's something that we need to take a lot of other measures to ensure, especially with other developments that are going on, and I'll say especially in East Norwalk. Please don't continue to preach affordable housing to support your supportive density and then have structures that are built that most people I know literally can't afford. So that's on ADUs. And I just want to speak quickly also to what Ms. Lorella was talking about with the contract for wind waste. And I may be completely wrong with this, but I hope you'll discuss it and somebody can set me straight here. It seems to me that residents here, we fought for a long, long time to get single stream recycling and to be able to recycle as many items as we could. And I'm feeling like those amount of items, those types of items are being whittled down year after year. And I think it has to do with the operator. To some extent, I read things like they have inefficiencies or no capability with their equipment to manage things that we should be recycling right from our home. And rather than have the burden put back on residents to then gather up different types of materials and have to go to the transfer station, I think we should go back to the original idea of having single stream and as much recyclable at our homes as possible. And if that means revisiting these contracts, I think that you should do that. And certainly to reduce the length of these contracts so that we're not in this boat again. I know I'm over my time,
Right.
Mayor.
You're at
thank you so much.
3 minutes and 40 seconds.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so sorry. So happy holidays to all of you. Thanks for listening to me and appreciate your time. Good night.
Is there anybody else?
No, sir.
I know Miss Keefe still has her hand raised, so I don't know. And
No, all fine. Thank you.
okay. There are no resignations and appointments. Mayor's remarks, just a few. Very happy that effective today, we've lifted the water emergency and we are now issuing a water advisory. Over the past couple of weeks, we've had sufficient rain that will resupply our reservoirs to a point where we feel comfortable doing that, but we're still asking people to be diligent in conservation efforts to make sure they do everything possible to save and conserve this valuable resource. This past weekend, we unveiled the City of Norwalk's Purple Heart Monument. Thank you for the council people that were able to be there. Norwalk has 199 veterans that have received the Purple Heart, and this is a monument to them and all the others. Norwalk is a Purple Heart City. We've been a Purple Heart City since 2020. We are also proud to announce that we have finished the Center Avenue, Ohio Avenue, Plymouth Avenue project, where we did 13 streets, total of about 1.5 miles of paving, sidewalks in an area that was truly in need of it. And it's just another sign that Norwalk continues to invest in its infrastructure. And with the new chief of operations, we're designing a more effective way to determine which roads need to be paved and which roads don't. We're working on that, and I think we're going to have some good results. Next item. I mentioned already tomorrow that we're going to be marking the 10-year anniversary of the Sandy Hook Elementary School tragedy. 9:30 in the morning, all the names of all the victims will be read. Now that we're in the holiday season, on December 21st, we're hosting a menorah lighting in front of City Hall. This will be led by Rabbi Hecht and Rabbi Stone. There'll also be live music. I believe also there's 2 other menorah lightings. One will be at at 50 Washington Street, and one will be at Stu Leonard. So we'll get that information out too. Also, we'll be hosting a Kwanzaa event on the week of December 26th. More details on that event will be shared. And I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. And I want to note that future State Rep Kadeem Roberts is in the office. And I also want to acknowledge the fact that today is the last meeting for Miss Dominique Johnson as a council person, who will now be moving on, teaming up with Kadeem up in Hartford to work with Norwalk to make sure that Norwalk continues to grow and develop in the right way. And we look forward to your advocacy. We look forward to your partnership. And we also thank you for your service on the council. You brought a lot of thought, vision, and wisdom to our discussions. So thank you very much. And I think Mr. Burnett, the council president, would also like to, and then anybody else, by the way.
Thank you, Mayor Ridley. Councilmember Dominique Johnson has been a tireless advocate for what is just, what is fair, and what is right for many years prior to becoming a member of the Common Council in 2019. Dominique was appointed to the council in 2019 to fill a vacancy, and then was elected by the citizens of Norwalk as an at-large member of the Common Council in 2021. Dominique's presence on the council will be missed as a voice of reason. And we all know quite often Dominique will say, hold on. We need to look at this from a different perspective. And we appreciated that. We are sad to see you leave, but we're elated that you are going to take your hard work and wisdom and make a true impact as a trusted advocate in Hartford for all of Norwalk residents. We wish you all the best of luck. We look forward to continuing to collaborate and partnering with you in your role as state representative. And at this time, as a token of our gratitude, we'd like to present you with a plaque for your service to the city of Norwalk as a common council member.
Wow. Sure, why not?
I love us being made out of. Okay, great. I'm coming. This we got things to do tonight. All right.
Now we'd open up the floor to anybody else that would like to comment.
Oh, my goodness.
Put on the line. Put on the line.
Okay, go ahead.
The floor is now open for
Put on the line, start over there.
council members who wish to speak.
By all means, so it would be hard to not have the chance to say thank you for your time here, your leadership here, the wisdom you provided, the welcome you provided. As I stepped up to run for the council and started on the council, our shared passion for trying to find the right way to do things, to support our constituents, to try to make the world a little bit more fair. And I'm thrilled that you are going to be a leading voice in Hartford on behalf of our city. And I look forward to the world being a little more fair because you're in it. Thank you.
Like Nora, it was the absolute thrill of a lifetime to get to run with you last year as an at-large member and for all 5 of us to be victorious. You are immensely thoughtful. One of the hardest workers I have ever seen. And a lot of times the way you campaign is a good indication of how you're going to govern. And if that is any indication, you are going to really change some things up in Hartford. You are funny, thoughtful, deeply intelligent, and I'm so glad that, as LeBron James said, you're taking your talents to Hartford. So we're so glad that that's going to be to our benefit, and we're so excited to work with you, even though we'll miss you both obviously here at the council and in our caucus and committee meetings.
Mr. Hooverman.
Dominic, I just want to say I appreciate you and I will miss you a great deal. You are a voice of reason, and for that you have made this council better. And I am excited that you are going up to Hartford to make that chamber better as well. So continue the fight and know that you will be missed and you can come back anytime.
I still live here.
Dominique, from the moment you stepped on this council, you have done so with aplomb and with integrity, and you have fought for what is right and just. That's been said numerous times, and I think that you will always carry that with you, that reputation of fighting for what is right and just. You have been my friend, my confidant, and it has been a pleasure serving with you. I am deeply sad to lose you on this council because you have been such a voice of reason and have contributed so much to the conversation. But I do wish you all the best in Hartford. It will just change the nature of the way we work together.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Like I'm following how many people already?
I don't know. By the time we get down to
Everything gets said.
And so really, what comes to mind when I think of you is, aside from what you do for work, aside from your education, it's your heart and it's your integrity. And that's what counts when we're trying to do the work of the people, right? We try to do the best that we can, and you embody that. And I so appreciate the time that I've had to spend with you.
I'm sorry we weren't on a lot more committees because I'm sure we would have had a ball. But but please know that, you know, you're only moving up and we're gonna follow you. We're gonna be there and what you're going to bring to Hartford is what Norwalk needs. And so good luck. And we know you live where you live. And we will definitely be calling, right? And so just good luck and continue to be you and do what you do because you do it with integrity. And you can stand on what you're doing, whether or not people agree with you or not, but I so appreciate that about you.
Mr. Livingston.
Thank you. You know, following this, all these superlatives.
Yeah.
But it's still not hard to find more.
All right.
You know, it's been such a pleasure working with you. I've enjoyed working with you. I've enjoyed our conversations. And one thing I want to throw out is how much I have learned from you, particularly in terms, other members have commented about your sense of fairness, your sense of justice, and particularly on the ordinance committee. I feel I've learned so much about your view, which I really admire and respect. So thank you for that. And best wishes, as I'm not sure who said it, but if you spend as much energy in Hartford as you did just campaigning, first off, you'll be exhausted, as will Billy, but you'll be an amazing success and we wish you luck. Thank you.
Ms. McMurray. Yes, McMurray.
Yes, you're right. I don't know how to follow all this. I'm going to try not to cry. So you were one of the most welcoming people on the council when I first decided to run. And when I won, much to my surprise. You're fair, you're just, as everybody said, but your heart is so kind and so big. And you are like a sister to me, and you are not getting rid of us. We're gonna follow you. I feel like I have so much in common with you, being from the Midwest, our background, and Billy and Ryan are like the same person. I'm gonna miss you so much, but I hope we can still have our conversations like we have. We are gonna support you from here, and I know you're gonna continue to support us. You don't need luck because you're gonna do an amazing job.
I will call the other council people as they appear on my screen. Ms. Alterman.
Dominique was definitely one of the most welcoming people, not only like on council, but when we were campaigning. And anyone that did campaigning knows that all of my children fell in love with her. They had a lot of fun palling around and being silly. And we do have a like holiday present to drop off on your porch. So while you're moving out of the council, we'll still harass you in our neighborhood.
In the neighborhood, yeah. Thank you, Heidi.
Ms. Shanahan.
Gosh, I might be last but not least, I think, but hopefully not least. Oh,
Please,
Dominique, what are we going to do without you on ordinance? I mean, you really were, you know, the voice of reason and the always, you know, so supportive of everything we did, and the clarity of your thinking was so helpful to have. So I'm going to miss you so much, and we still have work to do before you leave. I owe you a phone call, so I'm honored.
Like an hour.
We'll talk soon.
Mr. Meek.
Good luck, Dominique.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that very much.
Mr. Kites.
Oh, good luck, Dominique, with everything. Pleasure spending time with you. Look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you very much, John. Appreciate it.
And last but not least, Ms. Revolus.
I was about to say, I don't know what you meant, but I'll probably be the last one called. You have been, sorry, my baby just put my mic in my mouth. I'm probably going to say the coolest thing is the fact that you're cool enough to let the meeting adjourn tonight. I'm going to fall back, let you have that. So that's the coolest thing I could say. I do want to say good luck. Thank you for your work with the council. Thank you for in particularly the opportunity to be able to express concerns. Like, for example, you know how I am about nutrition. You've always been a force behind that with me. I do appreciate that. Bring it to the state capitol for me, please. You're a good soul. You're a good heart. And I don't fall back for people often. So know that I love you too. Take care. We'll see you. You still live here. Of course, like you said, you're our resident. You're always going to be a proud member of our council. You did it with honor and integrity. And like I said, the coolest thing I could say is you can motion to adjourn all day tonight when we're done.
And I know what that means. Thank you so much.
Well,
Ms. Johnson.
I will be very brief because I'm emotionally overwhelmed by love in this room and online. Gratitude is the word that comes to my heart. I have a lot to live up to, and I want to live up to it. And this opportunity to be on the council with you all has been one of the blessings of my life that was very unexpected. And so this next chapter is yet another unexpected blessing. And I've just been so honored to work with this group, both groups, the first term and this term. I know that we've made this a space where we can talk about issues that matter to our neighbors and really work on behalf of what we think will make Norwalk a better place for everyone. I know that that's something that will continue happening because of the amazing group here, the city staff. I want to thank them. It's been wonderful getting to know them. And I'm saying this all because I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here with Kadeem, with the delegation. And so I just want to thank them for their professionalism, their insight, the courage of so much of what we do is thanks to you, Mayor, and your team, your mayor's office, and the collaboration that we've had with you as a council, I think, and with our state delegation. Earlier today, Senator Dust said, when local and state work together, we can get magnificent things done. And that's exactly my intent, to go up there to be a part of that and do that. I said I'd be brief, so I will say this, that I have gratitude for the city of the people. We are a city of people. We are a city for the people, and that's why I've been doing this for the people in my neighborhood, in our lives, and even the people, the Norwalkers we have yet to meet. I've been honored to first been appointed and then elected by you to do this work, and I know what that means to be given a chance in this seat to represent you. And so I want to thank the people of Norwalk for this, and for the people in my district now too. Just gratitude to the people of Norwalk, and I am proud to be a Norwalker. What matters, I think once I was talking with you, Mayor, what matters is I'm now here. I wish I was, the born and raised part is really amazing, but that I'm here is special, and I'm not going anywhere, everyone. This feels like a goodbye party, but I'm right here, and I want to thank you all for this. This is going on the office wall. So come on up.
Hey, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor Rowland. Just two quick comments before we move to the consent calendar. One, with what has been tradition over the past few years, we will not have a council meeting on Tuesday, December 27th, so we can enjoy friends, family, and the holidays during that week. And so with that, I'd like to wish everyone a happy, safe, and enjoyable holiday season. And we're going to now cover the business of the council with Councilmember Heidi Altman. Will be reading the consent calendar.
President?
Did somebody say something?
No, you have the floor.
Okay, sorry. First, I wanted to say congratulations to you, Mr. President Burnett. I am so sorry that I've had my head in the sand for like 6 weeks, but I'm really excited to see you as our president. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will start with the reappointment of Darren Callahan as Assistant Corporation Counsel. I don't see any resignations, appointments, reappointments. So we'll go to 7A, the Economic and Community Development. The first one was removed from consent. Number 2, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a grant agreement between the City of Norwalk Arts Commission and the Connecticut Office of the Arts in the amount of $1,200. Number 3, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a contract with Kiva User Funds LLC in an amount not to exceed $25,000 for the management and disbursement of $247,000 of American Rescue Plan Act funds for women and minority-owned enterprises over the next 3 years within the existing Kiva platform via sole source procurement account number noted. B, Public Works. Number 1, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all necessary documents for the state of Connecticut deep urban forestry equity through capacity building grant related to the city of Norwalk's participation in the grant. Number 2, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Altice USA for the East Avenue Advanced Utility Project, number noted, for an amount not to exceed $91,000, account number noted. Number 3, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents necessary to accept a donation of construction material from the Hatch and Bailey Company. 4A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Waters Construction Company Incorporated for project building 2022-1, paving of Ben Franklin faculty parking lot for a sum not to exceed $128,000, account number noted. 4B, authorize the Chief of Operations and Public Works to execute orders on the contract with Waters Construction Company Incorporated for project building 2022-1, paving of Ben Franklin facility parking lot for a sum not to exceed $12,800, account number noted. 5, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents related to the first supplemental project authorization letter for the Advanced Utility Project State Project number noted, enclosed with this agenda, whereby the city of Norwalk will transfer funds in the amount of $343,118 on July 15th, 2023, and $343,118 on July 1st, 2024, to fund the work to pulling cables between Fort Point Street and Olmsted Place, account numbers noted. 6A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with the Grasso Companies LLC for project RD 2022-1 curb and sidewalk at various locations for an amount not to exceed $431,808, account numbers noted. 6B, authorize the Chief of Operations and Public Works to execute orders on contract with the Grasso Companies LLC for project RD 2022-1 curb and sidewalk at various locations for an amount not to exceed $43,180.80. Excuse me. Account numbers noted. Number 7, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an amendment to the agreement with Wind Waste Innovation Holdings, former City Carting Incorporated, for citywide municipal solid waste collection dated September 28th, 2012, in order to extend the term of the agreement through June 30th, 2024, with an option to extend 1 more year based on the terms and fee schedule set out in the attached proposal dated December 1st, 2022. The fee for July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024 will be $2,115,000. And from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, the fee will be $2,220,750, account number noted. Number 8, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a 4th amendment to the agreement with Wind Waste Innovations Holdings, former City Carting Incorporated, for curbside recycling collection services dated June 30th, 2004, in order to extend the term of the agreement through June 30th, 2024, with an option to extend an extra year based on the terms and fee schedule set out in the attached proposal dated December 1st, 2022. The fee for July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024 will be $1,497,600. And from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, the fee will be $1,572,480. An additional commodity processing fee of $750,000 will be added to each annual base fee and is subject to available incentives based on the commodity revenue share, 80% City of Norwalk, 20% when waste, account number noted. Number 9, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a fourth amendment to the service agreement with When Waste Innovations Holdings, former City Carding Incorporated, for transfer station operation, transport and disposal services for municipal solid waste, dated August 4th, 2008, in order to extend the term of the agreement through June 30th, 2024, with an option to extend an extra year based on the terms and fee schedule set out in the attached proposal dated December 1st, 2022. The transfer station operations fee for July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024 will be $876,000, and transport and disposal fee of $97 per ton. The fee from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025 will be $919,800, and transfer and disposal fee of $101.85 per ton, account number noted. C, public safety and general government. Number 1, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all agreements, documents, and instruments with Axon Enterprise Incorporated for the sole source purchase, installation, and service of body-worn cameras, tasers, dashboard cameras, and related equipment and data storage for an amount not to exceed $460,394.65 annually, account number noted. Number 2, authorize the chief of police to execute any change orders necessary to implement the body-worn camera, taser, dashboard cameras, and related equipment and data storage program for an amount not to exceed $23,000, account number noted. D, finance and claims. For information, do I read this for informational purpose only? Okay. Excuse me. Report of the Claims Committee dated November 2022 and December 2022. Number 2, for informational purposes only, narrative on tax collections dated December 5th, 2022. Number 3, for informational purposes only, monthly tax collectors report dated October 2022 and November 2022. Is that it, or am I missing a page? Am I done?
You're done.
I feel like you guys gave me as long as one possible to return. Thank you.
Okay, you have heard the reading of the consent calendar. All those in favor show by a sign of aye, or if you're online,
Aye.
raising your hand. All those opposed have the same right. Any abstentions? The motion is approved. The consent calendar is approved unanimously. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Burnett. Item 7A, Economic and Community Development, Mr. Kites.
Thank you. Item A1, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute all documentation and or resolutions associated with the city of Norwalk's opt-out of the state of Connecticut's accessory dwelling unit provisions of Public Act number 21 to 29, House Bill 6107. Mayor, I'd like to move that and just kind of give a little background on the item.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I feel it's important to give a little background for those watching at home, and so I found that not many people really knows what's going on until it's after it's done. The state had passed specific legislation that specifically mandates that every town and city in the state of Connecticut adopt zoning regulations regarding accessory dwelling units, in layman terms, apartments with kitchens. Those units could be either detached from the home or attached to the home. What we're being asked to vote on tonight is the city has an option to opt out of the recommended state regulations within reason and conforming to the state statute. We're limited in the changes we could make, but we are allowed to a little wiggle room on what we can adopt. Both the ECD committee voted to opt out of this, so now it's before us tonight for a vote. Personally, I agree with opting out. I feel like we're by not. I'm not looking at just like what Planning and Zoning Commission adopted recently, but I'm also looking at the what ifs down the road. I think this is one of those situations where keeping updated on what the situation is as far as zoning rate, how the ADUs are working out. I think looking at this quarterly, even if not more frequently, is important. But I do agree with opting out and being able to modify to the city's needs, whatever those needs may be moving forward. And by not doing so and opting out, our hands are tied to the specifics of the state statute. So I know there's a lot of questions out there. We do have city staff with us, Mr. Kleppen, Mr. Baker, and I believe Jessica, you're also with us. So Mayor, back to you and on to the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kaidias. Discussion? Mr. Goldstein.
I decided to write out because I've had a lot of thoughts about this, and I decided I'd rather write it down and not just vamp. I think we've all spent a lot of time thinking about this. The decision we have to make tonight is simply whether to opt out of the state law or not. In my opinion, opting out is the right choice for Norwalk. It affords us the ability to meet the unique needs of our community by giving us the flexibility to make revisions and adjustments. And locking Norwalk into the state's law can have unintended consequences that may not be beneficial. And I believe it's important to give Norwalk the flexibility to make adjustments if necessary. That being said, I want to make it clear that I strongly disagree with the Planning and Zoning Commission's recent 5-4 vote to include a site plan review requirement in its zoning regulations for detached accessory dwelling units, or what are known in the state statute as accessory apartments. We should be doing everything we can to responsibly grow our housing stock so people from all walks of life can afford to live in Norwalk. This includes developing detached ADUs because Norwalk desperately needs more housing. This area of Connecticut has a 1.5% rental vacancy rate, which is among the very lowest in the country. And Norwalk is currently experiencing the largest rent increase in Connecticut, which is up by more than 50% in some dwellings, as reported by the Norwalk Hour. As one of 2 renters on this council, I can say that I've had personal experience with this, as my landlord sought to increase my rent by 15% this year. Such stark rent increases can force people, whether they are young or seniors, from remaining in Norwalk, which is a loss for us all. I think arguments in support of site plan review requirement that I heard made at the planning and zoning meetings, saying basically that it's just merely neighbor notification is incorrect. In fact, to satisfy the conditions of site plan review, you have to provide written notice to neighbors, seeking gain approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission, pay an application fee, and publish various notices. Notified neighbors would also have a misleading expectation that it's successfully stopped construction, so long as an as-of-right application conforms to the permitted standards set by the Planning and Zoning Commission, that application will be approved. Adding a site plan review requirement in addition to the existing steps that already exist for building a detached ADU, such as monetary investment and the development of architectural plans, are a clear barrier to entry. I know there's a difference of opinion, by the way, on whether this is the case. I actually recently spoke with Councilman Kaidias, who also feels that to learn more on sort of whether site plan review is a deterrent, that the Planning and Zoning Department should provide quarterly reports to the public regarding the status of ADU applications and how many of those applications are for detached ADUs. While I believe that the Planning and Zoning Commission should immediately revisit its decision, such data will hopefully be clarifying. We need to use all the tools in our toolbox when it comes to responsibly improving our housing stock. While I feel that the Planning and Zoning Commission's recent decision was misguided and it could very well cause us to miss an opportunity to grow our housing stock, I sincerely hope that the Planning and Zoning Commission will revise its decision, and I will continue to advocate that it do so. However, I still believe in opting out, and giving the Norwalk the ability to make its own choices is the best course of action, which is why I'll be voting yes to opt out tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Meek and then Ms. Eichner, Najolski Eichner. Mr. Meek.
Muted. Still muted.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm going to vote to opt out too. I just want to let the speakers here tonight and constituents who emailed me know that I just view it as the lesser of two evils. I agree with Councilman Goldstein on having more flexibility for Norwalk. And my hope would be that zoning at some point comes back to the table with a more simplified approach. Looking at Stanford, you know, they had a very elegant, simple approach, and somehow we needed to convolute it with 5 times more volume. I disagree with that approach, but I still want us to be as flexible as possible. I will be voting to opt out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meek. Ms. Najolski Eichner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, you know, I come at this from the understanding that we are a city in a housing crisis. We are a nation in a housing crisis. It is a crisis that has many factors, but it is driven in no small part by the mismatch between our supply and our demand. The most recent estimates I've been able to find online from Fannie Mae suggest that the nation is at least 4 million units short of the necessary housing for the population we have right now, much less the population that will be growing. While ADUs are a small portion of the solution to this problem, they are still a solution. They are a tool in our toolkit. They are a way that we can address the unmet demand for housing in our city, and a way that we can address the unmet demand for housing in our city before we reach the kind of crisis point that California, for instance, is seeing, where so many of the residents have been driven into homelessness because of decades of restrictions on house building. So I have wrestled a lot with the question of whether to opt in or opt out. There are flaws in the state statute, without doubt. However, I think that the regulations that have been put forward by planning and zoning and the overall approach that has been taken in the conversations around this, to my mind, lend me to deciding to continue to vote against opting out, to say that the state statute is better for Norwalk than the regulations that have been put forward by planning and zoning. It is better for us to have a less restrictive approach. It is better for us to support our community in building housing, particularly the opportunity to build housing outside our urban core that is nonetheless in keeping with general land use in the neighborhood. So one of the beautiful things about ADUs is that it allows people who want to live in Cranberry, in West Norwalk, in other parts of the city where there is more trees, more lot space, to be able to have that opportunity to live in that kind of neighborhood, while nonetheless living in a unit that is more affordable, closer to the size that they need. It is a tremendous opportunity to meet one of the most important goals I've heard from constituents, which is that they want their children to be able to return to Norwalk after they graduate from college and find a place that they can afford to live. Small units like ADUs are a terrific way to do that. I also have heard consistently from constituents, I've lived here my whole life, I want to stay here, but I'm being driven out by my costs. ADUs are a terrific way to allow seniors to stay in their community, whether it's by adding an ADU to their own house so that they can have rental income that helps supplement their mortgage payments, or by allowing them to move into a smaller unit, perhaps with a family member, where they can combine a safe place to live with the care that they need. So at the end of the day, ADUs are an excellent option for Norwalk. And I think that the approach that is least restrictive is the one that is ultimately going to serve our constituents best. As a final note, I think really important message to get out to our community. And I actually take this point raised by Planning and Zoning Commissioner Tammy Langalis. Much of the debate that we're having is really around the very small subset of detached ADUs. That's where sort of the much of the tension lies. The reality is that the vast majority of the ADUs likely to be built in the city will be attached ADUs. They will be basement apartments, they will be additions, they will be part of the main dwelling. Commissioner Langales pointed out that there is currently a lot of confusion among realtors and therefore among homeowners about the legality of these attached ADUs. I want to stress that under both the state statute and the P&Z regulations as currently put forward, we are really embracing attached ADUs. They are not subject to site plan review under the current regulations. I very much hope that nothing will be subject to site plan review when this regulation finally shakes out to its final form. But I think that that message really needs to be hammered home so that we are encouraging people to adopt attached ADUs in a way that works for their homes and their families. I thank you all very much for the consideration that's really gone into this issue. I think it's a tremendous opportunity to kick off a really deep conversation about what it means to have sufficient housing on all levels of income for all kinds of families here in Norwalk. And I look forward to a lot more conversation as we develop our affordable housing plan. I think this is just the very beginning of a deep conversation about how we let people stay in Norwalk, how we welcome people to Norwalk, how we are a place where everyone can afford to live, no matter what their housing needs. Thank you.
Miss Diana Revolus.
Thank you, Mayor. I just will also be with my colleagues who are opting out. My concern, and I just want to be able to voice, I agree with the majority of what's said, but my concern is affordable, and I will repeat this to the end of time till we start getting verbiage towards it. When we speak about affordable housing, our guidelines that what's considered affordable is not affordable. So if we're not clarifying what these houses should be at, what rate, what level, what to let somebody, for example, in a South Norwalk area be able to go into an East Norwalk area, what is considered affordable? And then also, again, the need for affordable ownership. So I think that's just something that as our constituents and as our representatives sit and speak about, the idea of what we consider affordable housing is not at all affordable. And this is one of the biggest problems that I have, not only with what is being presented, but it tends to fall as political jargon to me to sound safe where it can't be. Because if it's like a 1-bedroom something or another on someone's house for $2,000, it's not affordable for a lot of people. So I just hope that in discussing pulling back and maybe in the opt-out to sit with this a little bit longer, that could be something discussed, written on, and given in some type of percentage format of what these attached units, whether it be detached, or within the homes, can actually be their rates, so that this is something that could be affordable for the child coming back home from school, for the family who just wants to stay in Norwalk, for the elderly who wants to also be able to not be uprooted from here. This is a big part of discussion, and it's the cause of this nation's housing problem. And I hope that we look at the cause instead of just bandaging effects, because if they're too expensive, they're too expensive. You build them or not, they're too expensive. So I don't want to repeat what all of my constituents have beautifully said and eloquently said. I just want this part to be in the minds of those who spoke, those who will hear this later, and those who will come back to this if it's voted to be opt-out and to be revisited on what exactly is considered affordable for our residents of Norwalk, directly for us, so that this is something that we can have families that continue to stay here in an equitable manner.
Thank you, Ms. Revolus. Mr. Livingston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't want to repeat what others have said, really. I also will be voting to opt out as well. And I just want to point out a couple of things that I think most of us know, but just for the people watching. The state's approach is a one size fits all that was not directed to municipalities like Norwalk. And I'm not saying we're perfect by any means, but we're doing more than most communities to address affordable housing issues. And as part of these efforts, I think most members of their council know, the city has engaged a consultant to study affordable housing in the city. We don't know yet what that study will tell us. And if we don't opt out, we will not have the ability to tailor our ADU regs to address the housing needs identified in that study or elsewhere, now or in the future. And I know some of my colleagues have issues with parts of the zoning regulations recently adopted by P&Z, and I understand those. And they may not be perfect, but we as a city can change them. We can't change the state regs. So if we don't opt out, we will not have the ability to adapt and grow and change. And I just want to finally note, and I agree with Ms. Rivos, and she made a very important point about affordability. We talk about affordability, but this is not going to create affordable housing. I mean, these units, detached units, are not going to be what most people really need for when they think about affordable housing. It's not going to be that, so we shouldn't kid ourselves that it will be. And just lastly, as a reminder, Mr. Bonifant raised it, but the action requires a 2/3 vote, meaning 10 members. So I just want to remind people, my colleagues, that an abstention will be the same as a vote to not opt out. Well, thank you.
Mr. Kuhlman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. I just have a couple of things to say. And, I agree with a great number of things that my colleagues have said tonight. And I've been very torn by this particular vote and this particular issue. In 1926, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled on a case called Euclid versus Ambler. And in that case, they basically said it's making zoning rules and regulations are not against the Constitution. They're perfectly valid, as long as they're not arbitrary and unreasonable. And so this is the balancing act that I look at with this. And I weigh that against the fact that I actually believe that the state has an area of preemption that they can bring into certain aspects of a municipality. A lot of people talk about home rule, and we go back and forth about what that is and how that works. But for me, I look at it not from just the affordability standpoint, but another tool in the toolbox of inventory of housing. And here in Fairfield County, we do have an inventory issue with housing. And I look at this as another tool. The problem that I'm having is more on the side of what the Planning and Zoning Commission has offered up as their current version of the rule. I have a problem with the idea that these would not be as of right, that if someone came into the office with with a conforming design, that it still would have to go under a review process, a cumbersome review process with a fee involved. And that's where I take issue with the current version that the Planning and Zoning has. So I'm still very torn by this, but I will be voting no. I would like to see us opt into the state.
Ms. McMurray.
Thank you. I don't want to repeat a lot of what everybody else said, and I'll keep my comments very brief. This has also been a tough decision for me. I've been going back and forth about it, trying to, do my own research, listen to all the meetings. I want our community to have flexibility, and I have come to the conclusion that the only way for us to do that is to opt out. But that does not mean that I agree with the regulations that have been put in place by the Planning and Zoning Commission as of right now. I do like the idea that this can be data driven and that it is in our power and our control to revisit that quarterly or as we see fit. And I think that's the best way to sort of go about this. I think that will help us determine what the regulations look like. But I do think that we have to have that flexibility, and the only way to do that is to opt out. And that's really what we're voting on tonight. So it has been a very tough decision for me, and I know as well as my colleagues. But I would like to work with the Planning and Zoning Commission if possible, and have them listen to more of the constituents that have reached out to us and spoken here tonight, to really dive in deeper on what we think works best for our community, because this is not cookie cutter.
Thank you. Further discussion, Ms. Smith.
Yes, I can't say anything more that and better that has already been said, but I agree very strongly with Mr. Livingston that the state's regulations are cookie cutter and not meant for communities like Norwalk. I feel very strongly about that. I do not think that it will increase the housing stock significantly enough to make a difference, and certainly is not going to address affordable housing, the issue in general. I also agree that with what Mr. Goldstein had commented and others, I am too disappointed with the addition of the site plan review. That was just added last week by planning and zoning, and I do hope that they will look at that again. I don't think that we should be making it more difficult, but the real key here is the flexibility that we have as a city to make decisions for what's best for us.
Further discussion? Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, thank you. With everything that has been said, not to repeat, I want to thank the speakers tonight, especially the ADU advocates, because I think it's important. And I've took stock of this a lot, being somebody who believes in ADUs as well, that we are a city, I think based on this council and based on the P&Z Commission, I can infer that does support ADUs. It's not a matter of having no ADUs, but I think it's very important that, as one of our speakers said, that to demonstrate through action that the intent isn't that this is burdensome and we don't want ADUs. The intent is to say, we want ADUs. How are we going to do it for Norwalk? And by doing so, I think P&Z, and I don't mean to step out too far, but this is my last council meeting. So I'll say that, Planning and Zoning Commission owe it to the people to respond and adapt and revisit as we go. And if we're not seeing the ADUs emerge in a few years, especially in the neighborhoods with larger lot sizes, then we should amend, we should revise, we should see what we're doing. And I think that this 5-year affordable housing plan under the leadership of President Burnett, getting our affordable housing plan is going to be a really important tool for us. ADUs can also not be affordable housing. They can just add to the unaffordable stock. And so I think that's really important for us to consider moving forward. And again, want to thank everyone who showed up for comment tonight.
Ms. Young?
So thank you, Mayor. And so that's why I let you go, right? And what you just said demonstrated what we're going to get in Hartford. And so we so appreciate your comment. I don't want to reiterate what's been said, and our colleagues, I have to say, we had some very intense conversations, but respectful conversations. And this wasn't just for one meeting. This was phone calls, folks doing their research and communicating with each other. And I'm glad to see that we are all passionate and we have our positions, and we were able to express that in a meaningful way. I will not, I will be supporting opting out of this. I think that is the only thing that we can do really in the best interest of the residents and for the city. Because why would we agree to a plan or process that we can't control and or make adjustments to based on experience? And I think that is a real issue. We want to be able to have the control. And Norwalk is the 6th largest city in the state. And we are in a different county, and things are different. And I think this plan set out by Hartford really was to address other possibly smaller towns that probably aren't as far along as we are in Fairfield County and in Norwalk. And I think we really need to look at that. As my colleagues have said, I have concerns with the process. And I think we in earnest put forward our suggestions to the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I think that warrants more conversation and really looking at that, and to come back and present something that's still different. And we only got, we didn't get any of that information in a timely manner. I think there's a lot wrong with that process, and we really need to talk about that moving forward. But I look forward to this. And the other issue of affordable housing. I think we talk about it all the time, and we got to realize, and everyone has said it here, that's just not going to happen. And it's interesting, today I had a conversation with someone who looked up the cost of homes. There are only 4 homes that have been listed in the city of Norwalk that is $400,000. So everything is $400,000 and up. And so to say that an ADU is going to provide affordable housing just is far-fetched. And I think we know that, but I think that we are also on the right track with our affordable housing ad hoc committee. And so I look forward to us continuing this conversation and continuing to press planning and zoning and to hold them for this process. So I thank you for your time.
Mr. Burnett.
Thank you, Mayor Rilling. I will be supporting to opt out of the state plan. And regardless of the outcome of the vote tonight, it's welcoming to see the energy and enthusiasm around this topic, which has not been at the forefront for quite some time. And again, regardless of the vote, we have to continue the momentum to look at every possible way to provide adequate housing across the city of Norwalk. And I hesitate to use the word affordable, but adequate housing, regardless of what situation we're trying to address. We have to increase, as Council Member David Hoovman alluded to, we have to increase the toolkit, the options that are available to Norwalk residents to be residents in our city and enjoy the proper quality of life, which should be made affordable to everyone, so they can enjoy what we all appreciate, being residents of Norwalk. So those are my brief comments, but again, the momentum has to continue. We have to go back to the table, regardless of the outcome of the vote, to make things right, to move forward.
Ms. Alterman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a quick comment. I very much appreciate wanting to diversify neighborhoods like Cranberry, wanting to give people more options. I do want to remind people there's a problem. So I help with like Spanish speaking meetings for parents that go to Cranberry. They can't take a bus to our school because the bus routes don't go far enough out in Norwalk. I think that might be an area that we can focus on if the core issue that people are trying to say is like, affordability. If you want to give people these dwellings, what if they don't have a car? Anyway, it's small issues, but it's a really big topic to discuss. And so I appreciate everybody's comments. I am going to vote to opt out, but I hope that everybody stays vigilant and making sure that planning and zoning, gets to where everybody in Norwalk will find some kind of level of comfort. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Revoluth.
So to kind of help what my colleague was saying, Councilwoman Alterman, affordable is 30% of your income to pay rent, to pay whatever. 30% of the individual's income. That is not the same for myself, for Ms. Alterman, for Ms. Young, for whomever. So when we think about affordability, there's a percentage to that. So if you look for, if we're thinking about adding diversity to new areas and diversifying the residents there, it's really 30% or less. If we can't do that, no matter how the four walls look like, we're not addressing affordability. So that's exactly what I mean by there needs to be a spoken percentage there to whomever is doing it, per whoever's applying for it, whoever's going to move into, whether it be, like I said before, detached within your home. Affordability is not just a brushstroke, it's to the person's situation. So maybe to help in defining what was being said, where it comes to if I'm being able to get transportation, employment, whatever, it's a percentage that we very well know it's 30% or less of your overall income, your monthly income. So that's all I wanted to add, and we can go on if no one else has anything to say.
Further discussion. Okay, seeing none, I will call the vote. Remember that a no vote or a yes vote is to opt out. A no vote is not to opt out. And we need a 2/3 majority. In this particular case with 14 councilmen, people present, it will be 9.3 votes or 10 votes to opt out. So I would ask for a roll call vote.
Mr. Burnett,
Yes.
Mr. Goldstein,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Yes. Ms. Najolski Eichner,
No.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Uvelman,
Nay.
Ms. Revoluce,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Kites,
Yes.
Ms. McMurr,
Yes.
Ms. Alterman,
Yes.
Mr. Meek,
Yes, that's vote number 10. I made a difference.
LOL.
You got a strong caucus there, Bernard.
Mr. Livingston,
Yes.
Ms. Shanahan.
Yes.
We have 12, yes, and 2.
12 in favor, 2 against. The vote to opt out passes. And no other business coming before the council. Ms. Johnson? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. One second. Ms. Revoluce, I think, wanted to say something, so.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate it. I'll give it to you, Ms. Johnson. I appreciate
Don't slip up, by the way, and adjourn.
I won't. I promise. I won't. First, I do want to say thank you to you, Mayor, and Norwalk overall for being able to give onus to all the holidays that are being represented, whether it be Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah. We have a diverse community, or to those who don't do the holidays at all. You are a blessing to Norwalk. But to my, yes, to you. Thank you, Mayor. But to to my brethren, my constituents, my Haitian family, I want to say a blessed happy New Year's to the daughters and sons of Jean-Jacques Dessalines and to the first Black Republic for January 1st. So it's not only a day to walk into 2023, but it's a celebration for a community that has gone through triumphs and tribulations, and just to acknowledge it's a very important day for us. I thank you for letting me say this. I thank you for letting me address that. Happy New Year's, IET, and then to my wonderful colleague, Johnson, take it away.
Oh, and in honor of that, yes, I move to adjourn, Mayor.
The motion by Ms. Johnson to adjourn.
Motion
All
to
in favor?
adjourn.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:54. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Bye, guys. You're very welcome.
That was
Happy
nice.
holidays, everyone.
Oh, we gotta do photo before I'm.
Jordan.